folks. Old Man Grognard here. You get to listen to me talk a little more. Oh boy. I put my stage show to bed last night. And it's a bit of a load off my mind. I can game a little more and I can join the podcasts again. Join the Old School Blues broadcast. I did a couple episodes and then they did a whole bunch without me because I couldn't be around. So now I'm around. I just hope they left something for me to talk about. But you guys did. Anyway, it's about 1:40 right now. And I thought it'd be a good time to answer some emails and talk about a few things, if they come up in my mind. First one I got here is from Scott Woodard, and says, "Hi Glenn, just curious if you," this is a really small font, "if you had any opinions on the Deckmaster Adventure Design set from TSR. Useful tool or more of a novelty from the good old days? Thanks, Scott Woodard." Well, Scott, first of all, thank you for reminding me I have a set. I haven't looked at it yet, but I will probably look at it in the near future and do a review of it on my other series, Old Man Grognard Oops, since it is an old out-of-print thing. I've only done 2 of those, but I want to do a few more. They're good to alternate with the other stuff and this, of course. But thank you for sending me that. I will look into it. I used to have a copy a long time ago, and I guess I got rid of it. I don't remember. Or I don't even remember if I had it or not, to tell you the truth. But I managed a few years ago in North Texas to pick it up at a silent auction. So it's worth a shot to look at. I think it might be useful, to tell you the truth, just from glancing at it. But we shall see. It's been a long time since I've seen those. And what else do we have here? Oh, here we have one from Mike Pacewald. And Mike says, "I just watched your Dark Dungeons review on YouTube, and now I'm even more excited to get my own copy. My wife ordered the Lulu hardback for me." Well, good for her. I wish I could have got the hardback. But, hardback, I like both, but, tell you the truth, hardbacks last longer. I'm also a huge fan of the RC, and I'm hoping this gives my secondhand copy a much-needed break, despite the fact that I use binding tape all over the place with my copy. It threatens to fall apart in some areas. Handle with care. Again, glad I ran across your review. Cheers. Mike Pacewald, Mipsid on Dragon's Foot. P.S. I realize I recognize your voice. Miss hearing you on Save or Die. Well, you know what? I miss me too. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, I'm glad you're a fan of the RC. Thank you for the Dark Dungeons comment. And you are going to enjoy it. You really are. It had a couple of peccadillos in there that I went, but I covered those in the review. So, but other than that, yeah, it'll give your RC a break. It really will. It probably help better if you're, for consistency's sake, at the table, if you didn't use the optional. I mean, they're great optional systems, but they're optional. I would, if you were using Weapons Mastery in the RC, I would convert it over to the Dark Dungeons version just because it's just easier to use. Because you can, I hate to repeat myself, but you can look stuff up easier on it, and it's easier to, just to implement. And of course, the skill system, either one is great. But like I said, you probably make your life easier if you not use those. Just, far be it for me to tell you how to use it. And finally, I've got one here from Jerry McConnell. You want a little clarification. In After Dark '09, you described Champions as a toolbox system. I never heard of that before. Care to elaborate? Jerry, sure. Thank you for writing, Jerry. And what a toolbox system is that's my way of saying a universal system. I mean, it doesn't have to be a universal system to be a toolbox system. A toolbox system is the kind of system, is the kind of system that takes kind of a toolbox approach. Some people call it modular. The reason I say it doesn't have to be a universal system, be a toolbox system, look at 2E, AD&D. That is a toolbox system. You got the basic game, and then you got things you can plug into it, like the splat books, like other subsystems in there. You can strip that down to the bare bones and still play it, but you have modular stuff you can put into it. Now, what makes Champions, and by extension GURPS, Savage Worlds, these other things, a toolbox system, is you get in that system, they may have a base framework on how to do stuff, like how to attack, things like that. But everything else you get to build. And it's like having a toolbox. Champions was made for superheroes. The hero system was made for superheroes, and it does that best because everything, you build the characters from scratch. You have your stats, you buy things with points. The point-based systems seem to be, by default, they seem to be toolbox systems. It's just how you can stretch the game. They're taking the toolbox. There's also the toolbox approach. A lot of people are taking the toolbox approach for things that weren't really toolboxes per se. I mean, if you go back ways, like Holmes and BX could be considered toolboxes for fantasy. Because people tweaked and house ruled it till the cows come home, and they just do that. I think in general, role-playing games were made to tinker with, but toolbox systems it's the ultimate tinkering, because you can tweak it here and tweak it there and not really break it. Because the framework is solid. Rules lawyer heaven. That's what I call Champions. But any RPG system, to me, is always how far can you tweak it until you break it. And there's a lot of games out there that you can just push and push and push and never break. Tunnels and Trolls. I think it's a toolbox system. It's got their basic frameworks, but you can house rule it and house rule it and house rule it, and it'll still be Tunnels and Trolls. D&D is that to a certain extent, to a very great extent, actually. And there's a lot of other things a lot of other systems out there. But when I say toolbox system, I mean a rule system that is made with that in mind, with tinkering in mind. When I first got in, I've said this before, when I first got into Champions, I really liked that approach because it wasn't the super genre that got me, it was the fact that I could make any damn character I wanted if I had enough points. Sometimes even if I didn't have enough points. So that's pretty much what I mean by a toolbox system. Savage Worlds is a great toolbox system. It's got its base game, and then everything else is add-ons. If you get any of the like this the supplement the world supplements and campaign supplements, you can see how much you can really push it because you can add things and drop things. You can add and drop stats depending on the system. I'm reading Ripper's Resurrected right now, and they have a stat in there called, I think, Reason. Reason, because you're dealing with creatures that go bump in the night and horrors, Victorian horrors and things like that. So it's sort of a sanity system. There's also a reputation stat, and those and things. Something like Reason isn't in the other Savage Worlds games. They have this in Rippers too, but it came out in Deadlands first. There's a stat called Guts, and Guts is exactly what it says. Your guts, not like, guts that spill out, but, your inner, how badass you are, I guess, or something like that. That was a Deadlands thing. They took it out of Savage Worlds. Originally it was in Savage Worlds 2, but they took it out in the current incarnation. But they said, if you need guts in a system, if you're playing Deadlands in Savage Worlds, or if you're playing Rippers or some other system that uses it, use it. So that's pretty much what a toolbox is. It's like I said, it's a they give you the stuff, say, here, go ahead. And that's what a toolbox is. And thank you for that letter. That was like 2 lines of really good me going off on stuff. Thank you, Jerry. Okay. I've got a couple of reviews. I got a review coming up of a system that got me thinking in another way. I really don't want to say what the system is, but you can probably figure it out while I'm talking about it here. Because I want to give this system a fair shake. I really don't like talking about stuff I haven't reviewed yet, but there are things like this out here that I just sort of wanted to, pontificate on. I don't like games. I don't like role-playing games that make it harder than it has to be. And I'm not talking about rules, too. Now, remember, this is all opinion. All of the stuff I do is opinion. I mean, reviews, they're opinions. One of my favorite movie reviewers has been, and always will be, even though he's gone, Roger Ebert. And there's a lot of times when I disagreed with him, but I still loved his reviews because he usually pointed me in the right direction. And that's what, like I said, reviews are opinions. So, taking that, I don't like bleak stuff. It took me a long time to figure out how to put, not why I didn't like certain systems, like Dungeon Crawl Classics or Lamentations, especially Lamentations of the Flame Princess. I'm sorry, James. I'm not dogging you because you have a hell of a good system and you do well with it. It's just not my cup. The tone isn't my cup of tea. It's more of a tone thing than anything else. I'm not into that bleak, damned if you do, damned if you don't, and survival is its own reward type of campaign. It's also a reason why I don't like zombie campaigns or zombie stuff like The Walking Dead or stuff. I thought George Romero did a really good job with his Living Dead stuff. I mean, that was a unique take on zombies, but I want to get zombies back to the way they were. Dead people that evil people resurrect to do their bidding. That doesn't mean they can't kill people and stuff, but, they're not all hungry for brains and other body parts. That's a kind of a subgenre, and I think they pushed that so far that I don't like it. And there's zombie role-playing games out there. I don't care for them because it's a world where survival is the reward, and I wouldn't want to live that way. I don't know of any characters I want to live that way. Now, this kind of people say, hey, Grognard, how come you like stuff like post-apocalyptic then? Because it's tongue-in-cheek. It's kind of tongue-in-cheek because it pushes it so far. I mean, I like the Mad Max stuff. And that's sort of kind of survival, even though it's kind of a world, you know. But the post-apocalyptic stuff is like, if it was in any other game, I'm going, oh, come now. But it's so, what they like to call gonzo, thank you, Hunter S. Thompson, that it's almost funny. And it's almost superhero-y. And you're actually, I feel like, because it was funny, because I had to get back to this genre. Because when I first started, as I've told many, many, many times before, I started with first edition AD&D long enough for the DM to say, okay, we're all going to play Gamma World now, because this is my favorite system. And she did nothing with it. All we did was wander around, kill monsters, go into a few ruins. We had no purpose. And that's no way to run a sandbox. I mean, there are campaigns like that, and sometimes they're very interesting. But it just would, it almost, until Champions came along, I was getting ready to get out of role-playing games. Because I found them boring. If I said, if this is it's going to be like playing the games, I don't want to play these. But I've come back to it, looked at Gamma World again, looked at Mutant Future, looked at these other games, and say, hey, there's a lot of fun in this if you do it right. And I've been trying to do it right. Tim Snyder's Thundar stuff, I love it. You know? Okay, enough of the bleak worlds. What I mean is about systems making it harder than they have to. One thing that always bugged me about the OSR was that there are some people in it, and once again, this is my opinion, because there's a lot of people who like this stuff. I mean, I was just talking about Jim Ratchey. A lot of people like his stuff. But I'm mostly thinking of like Dungeon Crawl Classics right now. It's good for what it is. I really don't think of it as a retro clone, because they're always saying they want to get back to the days when, there was real fear and terror in adventuring and you lost a lot of characters and stuff like that. But it seems like they're pushing that envelope a little too hard. Why don't you just do a regular retro clone of like BX? That was deadly enough. There's no reason you have to make it deadlier. And that's what I'm saying. Man, when it gets to the point where you don't want to even, don't want to deal anything, with magic at all. I mean, certain things about it are great. The character funnel, brilliant. I think it's brilliant, but why should I have to have characters go through that funnel just to survive? I can go and, run a BX, or have somebody run a BX game or a Holmes game or an RC game or anything like that, and just kill the hell out of all my characters, and I'll just write up another one. It's no big. I don't have to take 3 characters to get one. I just think it's unnecessary, and all the magic is kind of mind bending. I'd have to relook at it again, but that's the impression I got. You really take a chance. You're already taking a chance with the magic. Maybe they just thought the OSR just got too complacent. I don't know. But I just don't like systems. They go, oh, we want to bring the deadliness and uncertainty back into roleplay. You don't need to. It was already there. Play the old games. But, like I said, there are people out there that like that. I'm not going to damn them. I'm always of the opinion of we're playing together. Whatever's fun, My fun is different than your fun, which is okay. I'll go play with people who have my kind of fun. And there are exceptions to that too. Like I'm really into that Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. And there's stuff there that can just like bend your brain and stuff, but it's not jiggered that way. The system isn't jiggered. It's jiggered for what they call swords and sorcery, which to me, I don't know, is the difference between that and Tolkienish. I mean, Tolkien has swords and sorcery, or any other D&D-ish world has swords and sorcery. I don't understand it. I think of more of a pulp fantasies. Pulp fantasy is what I understand. I understand that, but they're going for the more Conan-esque and Fritz Lieber-esque and Clark Ashton Smith, things like that. Fine, and I'm sure I'm one of these days I'm gonna play it, but I know I'll enjoy it. Because it's not like Call of Cthulhu where there's not really any sanity loss in a pulp fantasy. Even if they're using eldritch horrors a la Lovecraft stuff, there's no sanity loss because somebody like Conan will just like, okay, it's a big ugly monster, I gotta kill it. He deals with that stuff every day. It's horrors from the stars, but to him it's just one big old monster, one more monster to kill. So I kind of like that because I like the Conan movies and all those kind of swords, that kind of thing too, and the stories, and from what I read anyway. But why do you have to make? I don't understand why you have to make a hard game harder, or more bleak, or more hopeless. I'm the kind of person who always has hope, who always wants to have hope, even in my games. This is why I never like to play things like Vampire or any of the World of Darkness stuff, or Ravenloft. And then they lump in the moral choices, which I guess is okay once in a while, but I can't have a steady diet of it. And Ravenloft to me is just so depressing because I don't like worlds where all right, you're heroes, but the deck is kind of stacked against you. But that's what makes you heroes. You overcome it. But I don't like it when the deck is stacked way against you where it's almost pointless to do anything. This is why I'm talking about bleak. If survival is its own reward, I don't want to play that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to deal with it. I mean, if I'm just, you survived another day. You've got a little food and you fought off the big bad. Well, as a player, that's not really satisfying to me because it may not be that bleak in my own life, but people deal with that every day. And if I'm not saying I do, I mean, first world problems. I'm not saying that I do, but there are people out there who do that, and I don't want somebody help them and things like that. But, well, I feel my foot approaching my mouth. So I'm just going to leave it there for tonight. So if you guys want to send me any more, thanks for the emails, guys. You guys, anybody wants to talk about anything, oldmangrognard@gmail.com. I'm here. You can tell me, whatever. I like this, I didn't like that. I'll get to those Card Master cards. Don't worry about it. And until next time, bye-bye.